Yeah, that's a great assessment of what's happened in history. I mean, again, I've been teaching in my DeFi Academy now almost for a full year, and I have about over 1,000 students now, 50 countries, and they go through a 4-week program. And quite frankly, Kane, I force them to do the things they normally would not do because it's uncomfortable. So they do basic wallet setups, but then they go ahead and do their first trade on Uniswap. They do a yield farming trade. They do a liquidity pool trade, and they just get them to do it in small size so they know what it's like. They experience it and they realize, oh wow, this is an option, and we just kind of get them into DeFi. Biggest complaint, as you can imagine, is the gas fees. I always tell them they're tuition fees, so pay them because you're learning something, and you spend more at the pub on Friday night than you do in the gas fee, and you'll learn so much more with one transaction. And guess what? Help is on this way. Either ETH 2.0, or we're calling it now just whatever, Ethereum evolving, layer ones, layer twos, help's on the way. But I'd rather you get a trade done in a DeFi sense than say, oh, I can get the same thing on Coinbase or something, you know. So I try to get them into the mindset. But yeah, it's been a big sticking point. It's the biggest complaint I get every day. I obviously tell them it's tuition and we're going to move forward. But yeah, we're constantly having that discussion here about Ethereum. I guess you're an Ethereum maximalist. I haven't really had one on my show. So it's good that you're talking about these things.
Yeah.
Would you call yourself that?
Yeah, definitely.
Would you call yourself that?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Okay.
100%. You know, I've debated Kyle Samani, I've debated SBF, I've debated many people on Twitter, and you know, I think we found ourselves in a very unfortunate position within the Ethereum community where we were a bit complacent. Also, we were tackling a very hard problem. You know, we're trying to solve this problem in the right way, you know, in a long-term way, and not, you know, create more problems down the road, and that's hard. You know, I think Vitalik posted something a couple months ago, a slide from like an old deck in 2015 where, you know, he was talking about proof of stake would be out in like 6 to 12 months or something like that, right? Estimation in software development is much harder than we think. But the thing that I've been sort of repeating is this L222 meme, right? Which is that we're actually finally there. We have workable layer twos. The YDX is on Starkware. It works. It's a viable system. You know, we've got Arbitrum, we've got Optimism. So we have scaling solutions now.
Okay, so it's happening. And will there be ETH staking by 23? Or do you think the ETH network will be fast enough? Or will we need a lot of these layer twos to make it all happen?
I think today we have the ability to scale via layer twos right now. Like we can handle all of the existing within the ecosystem very, very easily. The challenge has been getting people confident enough in the security of these layer twos to get, you know, real size moved over from layer one, right? If you're an ETH whale or, you know, a large yield farmer and you've got, you know, tens of millions of dollars worth of crypto on L1, you know, it's a hard sell to convince you to move all of that. Not that hard, you just need the right incentives, but it's still at the moment a hard to get you to move all of that to Starkware, right? You might not feel 100% comfortable moving it to that network, whereas you do feel comfortable in L1. And for you, gas fees are not that big a deal. So until we can convince all of the people who have large size, who are, you know, are providing the most liquidity, the layer twos are not going to be as efficient as L1s are. But I think we're starting to win the argument. We're seeing people move across and start to really, you know, bring size across.
And what have you learned from the layer ones like AVAX? I had both John Woo and Emin here on the show, and the Solana, and, you know, a couple other the layer ones. What have you learned from them? Will they also host DeFi or a percentage of DeFi in the future? Will they be a part of this ecosystem? They taught us anything good or bad as they've developed over the last 12 months?
I think the thing that has surprised a lot of people in the Ethereum community is there are now genuine, organic, separate, distinct communities on these networks. DeFi, NFTs, everything, right? We had a window of opportunity where if we had scaled, I think that wouldn't have happened. It would have been very, very difficult for, you know, we had many years of EOS and, you know, even Binance, people forget, BSC was operating with empty blocks for like over a year, right? No one deployed anything on there. It didn't make sense to. Why would you bother, right? And then all of a sudden, you know, when the delta between gas on BSC and Ethereum is, you know, 2 orders of magnitude, well, hang on a second, maybe I will deploy my smart contract over there instead of on L1. And so I think that the lesson was that we unfortunately, we're a little bit too late. But the reality is that, that the situation, I think as much as we can bring some of that activity back, there are people in those ecosystems that I think are there to stay. And I think that you will have distinct L1s with distinct DeFi ecosystems and distinct users. Maybe there'll be some bridging and people moving across and using different systems, but it's going to take a long time for us to really win a lot of those users back, if we ever can.
And you mentioned bridging. Will there ever be bridging solutions where people can just pop from AVAX to Ethereum to Solana, or is that a little bit of a, utopian dream of the future, or will they always kind of be separate?
Yeah, I think the challenge with bridges is you get complexity, right? Which increases risk. So you get cool features alongside complexity, or you get simplicity, and then you introduce a lot of trust in the form of multi-sigs, right? So it's a very simple bridge design, which is just, me running a multi-sig with you, and we just decide, when the funds are moved across, right? But that places a lot of trust in the two of us. And if we have bad OPSEC or we're bad actors or whatever, then, all the funds are at risk that are on the other chain. I think we will get better bridge designs that can be more simple, without increasing, a lot of complexity and without introducing a lot of trust. But it's going to take time. It was, to be honest, like not even an area that I think a lot of people were focused on. It takes time. By the time there's a market opportunity, by the time we identify a problem, a lot of people have done a lot of dumb things. And so, within DeFi, like, people will just roll their own solutions. They'll just build their own bridge, or they just deploy multi-sigs. They're like, I need to solve this problem today, and I don't care how I solve it. And a lot of users don't care either. And then you have a $600 million bridge hack. And so I think that we are now seeing people really identify that this is a huge problem. And so there's a lot of brain power being focused on this bridge issue. And so I think we will see better bridges emerge, but good design and good R&D takes time.